All right, and we'll continue having the different reactions from the globe and, of course, here in the country. For now, though, we want to continue with our discussion. We've been having a panel discussion for the last 1 hour, just trying to understand what this win really means. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for staying with us. Tom Maliti, who's a world affairs analyst, is seated right next to me. In the middle, we have Abel Oyeyo, who is an international relations expert, and Professor Macharia Munene from the University of, from the USIU. All right, thank you so much, gentlemen, for staying with us. Now, let's continue. Let's take this conversation forward. What would a Trump presidency mean for Africa? Is he in any way knowledgeable about what happens here, even in the first place?
Trump is not knowledgeable about Africa. I don't think he has pretended really to be knowledgeable about Africa,
right,
except for the small issue of Kenya and Barack Obama. Beyond that, he's unlikely to, at least at the beginning, to really change foreign policy, U.S. foreign policy.
Right.
So the programs, the legislation that exists related to Africa, the Africa Growth Opportunity Act, the program, the Emergency Aids Program, PEPFAR as it's known, those will continue because those have always had bilateral support.
Okay.
And then the other big issue for the U.S. is, terrorism, and the support for counterterrorism efforts on the continent will continue. And then maybe at some point he may decide to, choose what he wants to emphasize, what he wants to look at, if he takes an interest in the continent.
But we are assured that what we were getting, as a continent would still continue, because there are people, Abel, I'd like you to comment on this one, who are saying that Africa is much better with the backing of the Republicans compared to the Democrats.
Yeah, that is because of precedence. When Bush was president, there was a lot of investment in programs like HIV/AIDS and even maternal health and child health. So on the reverse side, Democrats who tend to expected to be friendly to Africans do not invest as much. So the expectation, of course, when Trump comes in is very high. But as Tom said, Trump doesn't know so much about not just Africa, but the world at large. And different presidents have different dimensions of approach to governance. So you can have someone like Bush who was, so much into primacy, whereby he wanted to assert the powers of the United States. I expect Trump to be a selective kind of person. He's not going to go into every kind of conflict. So I expect actually some of the investments Americans have in Africa to recede, to reduce, because he's been talking so much about investing in the US. And that is what's going to happen in some places, like in the Middle East, unnecessary wars and all that. So it's going to look inwards and invest. So Africans should not expect much, apart from key areas like anti-terrorism and places where the US has interest. But investing so much, it's not going to happen.
Prof, what will be the difference between Barack Obama administration and Donald Trump presidents in terms of their outlook towards Africa?
Not very much different. With Barack Obama, there was an emotional attachment. He's one of us. Therefore, we all got excited. But in the final analysis, and Obama kept on saying, he's first and foremost an American. And he looks after the interest of the United States. And when the interests of the United States are in conflict with the interests of whoever, African countries, the U.S. interest will prevail. And we have seen that in a few instances. The same thing with Donald Trump. I think he will go through a reassessment with his team, exactly what are American interests in Africa. Once they decide what those interests are, then they will choose to engage on which way. It is incumbent on the African countries, states, to also do a serious reassessment of their position, of their interests as they relate to the United States, and then find a meeting ground, convergence points, because they are reasonable people. Africans are reasonable people. There are points of convergence that can be exploited. Not to sit and expect what is Donald Trump going to do for Africa, or maybe to Africa, because no. I think our countries, our policymakers, should go through a serious assessment and then determine how to engage the new administration.
All right.
And we need to find out who is going to be in charge of policy as related to Africa in his team, and then engage.
All right. One thing he said during the victory speech earlier on is that America will be friendly to countries that are friendly back.
Yeah.
Will this see African presidents or leaders want to sort of like endear themselves to him, especially because Trump doesn't know much about us as a continent?
I think it's a mistake to assume that he does not know.
Does he really, Professor? Does he?
No, I said it's a mistake. This man is no idiot. He rose up because he knows something. He's surrounded by people who know something. And that's why I'm saying there is going to be a serious reassessment. First of all, he does not like whatever Obama policy was on anything. So there's going to be a wide-scale reassessment. It is also expected that every president who comes into the office will do a serious national security review. So he's going to do that. And within that context, Africa will feature. And it's not just the United States, almost every country does that. That's why I'm saying, on the side of the Africans, don't expect Donald Trump to do for you. No. You also sit down and say, what does this mean to us, each country? And then how do you engage with the new administration in a more profitable way that is beneficial to both sides? And Donald Trump has to be shown that it is beneficial for America to engage with Africa at a reasonable level. If that
So
doesn't
some sort of education.
Yeah.
Or